marketing strategist and author with marketingplanguide.com, welcoming you today. And now LinkedIn is not technically a social media site. It's a Web 2.0 application, but I would argue that we can kind of group that together, and that premise will kind of come through as we talk a little bit today. But LinkedIn was officially founded in 2003, and it started on, I think it was May 5th. And the 5 founders of LinkedIn, one of them here is Reid Hoffman, invited about 350 of their most important contacts to join. And at the end of the first month in operation, at the end of May of 2003, LinkedIn had a total of 4,500 members in their network. So LinkedIn was actually around earlier than some of the others. So we get to the question of, how do you choose which tools are right for your business? And we could look at this for anything, whether it's social media tools, Web 2.0 tools, radio, television, old media, new media. And again, it goes back to these concepts into the marketing plan. What is your situation in your market and in your company? And have you developed a unique selling proposition? And this unique selling proposition, how can you deliver that to your target audience? So will the tools allow you to effectively deliver your unique selling proposition to your target audience? And what are your goals? Will these tools help you reach the kinds of sales goals that you need in order to justify your investment into this thing? So these are the questions that we're going to look at and we're going to try to ask as we try to choose which tools are right. So LinkedIn, now, I put this in here because, it's not really a social media tool per se, although I think it's important to know that LinkedIn is really a relationship builder. And, we talk about this concept of, our public life, or our business life, and our private life. And I think what's happening, especially with the advent of the whole internet and all these tools, the line is getting more and more blurred between the two. And you're not able as much to kind of isolate one part of your life from the other, because people can find out about you. They can do reverse directory searches on you. If they really want to find out about your personal side, they can. And with the advent of things like Facebook, your friends may put a picture of you, going crazy on the beach and tag your name on it, and then all of a sudden other people can see that. People can see it in a search. So I think it's really important, though, to look at a tool like LinkedIn, which has been around, has kind of emerging as kind of the business tool, and it's really a contact holder on steroids, but there's a lot more that you can do. And let's talk a little bit about, first of all, the target audience of LinkedIn. And it's pretty well established that the target audience of LinkedIn is pretty much business people. There's not a lot of social commentary on the site. There's not a lot of what are you doing personally. It's pretty much built around the concept of putting up your where you're working, or what your positions are, or what they have been in the past, and your professional things. And there's a lot of stuff we'll go into on the tactical side, which kind of will flush some of that out. But I propose to you today really kind of a 3 strategies that you can consider in using LinkedIn, more than just a way to organize who you know and what their phone number is. But LinkedIn has a bunch of features that allow your network of connections to be notified. And so strategy number 1 is what I call the subtle press release. LinkedIn will send out to everybody in your network a kind of a weekly update notice, which just says, this person is doing this, and it includes all the people in your connections. Well, if you make changes to your LinkedIn profile, that ends up in the weekly updates. If you get new connections, so as you're connecting to new people, everyone in your network sees that you're connecting to those people. So, there's a way to get your connections linked in a kind of this weekly update email, and showing people what's going on in your network. So by posting new activity, you're essentially creating a press release, but except instead of showing up in the local newspaper, the old media, it's going to show up in their email box in this weekly connections thing. And when I say subtle press release, you're just talking about what you're up to. You're not going to say, hey, buy this now. You might say, hey, working on developing a project such and such. So it's a great way to keep your network updated. And that kind of brings us to the second strategy. And this is going to be a strategy you're going to see with all these tools, which is what I call the network feeder. And what the network feeder is when we look at starting to use multiple tools together. Say we're using a blog, and we're using maybe LinkedIn, and we're using Twitter, and we're using Facebook. There are ways, and we'll talk about them in a little bit more in detail in a few minutes, about how you can actually get these networks talking to each other, so that if you update your blog, it will show up on your LinkedIn profile, and guess what? It'll show up in your weekly email connection that goes out to all your contacts. So you're developing this communication network of several tools that feed each other, and you may only need to enter something in on your WordPress blog in order to get it out on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter. So this idea of developing this network, because here's what I've learned, and I was kind of resistant of things like even Facebook for the obvious reasons of is this more personal? I really just want to concentrate on business, but people are using different tools in different ways to communicate. Just like really the text messaging generation, the younger generation is really using text messaging more than they're using email. They don't check their email as much. So if you're saying, well, I'm going to do all my effort into an email campaign, you may be missing a whole piece of your audience. Same with some people spend their time on Facebook. Other people spend their time on LinkedIn. Other people spend their time, on Twitter. And having this network gets your message out. Just think about it as getting it out to multiple media outlets. So that's what you want to keep in mind, is how to set this up so that you have a network of tools feeding each other. That will also help you save time in your implementation as well, because with some simple setup, and I'll show you some of that in a little bit, you can actually create this network. Well, and then the last strategy is what I call the introduction strategy, and that's really just the old-fashioned referral. And you can use your current connections in LinkedIn to meet other people, which are called second-level connections. They're really the connections of other people in your network. And say, for example, that you went to a trade show with Jim Smith, and Jim Smith and you are first-level connections on LinkedIn. Well, you met another guy, or maybe you didn't even meet the other guy. Maybe you saw that he was at that same deal, but you want to get him into your network, and you saw that he's in Jim Smith's network. You might just send an invitation to him saying, hey, I realize that you know Jim Smith. I was at this seminar recently. Let's get connected on LinkedIn. And before you know it, that second-level connection becomes a first-level connection to you. And if you work on this introduction concept, there's also another thing you can do, and we'll look at this again in the tactical discussion here, is creating recommendations. And recommendations are things that other people in your connections, your first-level connections, can write a recommendation about you saying, hey, I've worked with John Hunt. He's got great marketing ideas. I loved his book, whatever. And that gets posted on your site, and there gets a recommendation put on my site. I can do the same way for people in my connections. I can say, hey, I worked with this person here when I was in the radio business. I did this and this with them, really enjoyed working with them. So recommendations are another way to generate this introduction to other people, kind of a warm referral to other people. So what is your action item? And hey, email me, johnhunt@marketingplanguide.com. There's my personal email address. I want to find out what you're taking away from this. And, if you have another question about this, just let me know. Just email me, and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. Depending on which tool you connect through me, sometimes it takes me a day or two to get back. But I'd love to hear how this is going to be integrated into your plan. So again, I want to thank you for attending today. If you need any more information, just go to marketingplanguide.com or drop me an email. And I want to thank you for your attention today, and thank you for attending, and wishing you the best success in creating a winning marketing plan.